Okay, at this point, I think we've given a good picture of what the 3D looks like. We're gonna move back to the 2D. But first, we wanted to show that before you go back to 2D, in order to keep some of the all of the stuff you've done, you have to save your work. You must exit out of any property panels, and then once you do that, you can see that you have the saving icon shows up. You can click on that. But before we do that, I want to show you something. We now have undo. So you can see by clicking undo, it can undo some of the items that we've done on the but the undo only goes back 3 steps, and we also have a redo that will redo the 3 steps. So if anyone made a mistake, you always have this undo, but the undo itself is not limitless. So I hit save, and I get my green lights, and so therefore it basically tells me once I go back to 3D, I will see my updates. Okay, so let's go back to the 2D version. If I go click on the tab, automatically I'm not seeing my changes. What's going on? Okay, first thing is this page has not been refreshed. So one way to get it to refresh is I would go back to my open files, click on another plan, get it to load another plan, go back to open, select that floor plan again, and then my updates are back. Here it is. So here's the chair I just inserted. It is now showing up in 2D. Here's the floor plan background that I chose. Here it is. So of course there are more changes, but those are the changes that my two-dimensional view will be able to spot. One of the things I said a couple videos back is that magnets has not been turned on. That's not true. It's just not been turned on for every single object, but it's an active feature. To prove that, let me open some of the turn on a ruler, and let's bring in a shape. As you can see, the red dot over those objects indicate those magnets are active. And then if we take, for example, one magnet point, bring it over another, it snaps in. So the snapping in is proof that the objects are magnetized, and if you wanted to get accurate dimension of from one end to the other, you would snap in that corner. So therefore you would just play around with the other corner. So that's the usefulness of magnets. Same thing with this shape. I would have my one size securely aligned, and then therefore I can play with the others. And pretty soon we would also start turning magnets on to the objects that carry these magnets, and that should be coming up pretty quickly. The other thing that we didn't talk about is the this toolbar here. This toolbar has the basic undos when nothing is selected. So if I select an object, the toolbar changes, but when nothing is selected, I get my undo, my redo, my layer control. If I click on it, you see all the layers. My inventory list. This is the list of everything on the floor plan. And then my selection mode. And let me demonstrate each of those tools first. Grab a couple objects. Just put them on the floor. Layer control. Sorry. layer control lets me see what layers are turned on. Most object falls under default. Let me grab a different type of object. This is a different type of object. It's under annotation. As you can see here, annotation. I can take any object and put it under a different layer. So by selecting it, I can now put this under another layer called miscellaneous. And if I come under layer control and I turn off default, you can see objects hiding. Okay. If I turn on layer again, annotation, that's gone. Miscellaneous, and that's gone. Those are the all kinds of layers that objects can have. And of course, can turn them back on. They're not gone, they're just hidden. And hiding layers help you work effectively sometimes. So for example, I may have an electrical layer where I drop in electrical symbols under certain objects, but I don't necessarily want to be looking at those symbols all the time. So I put them in a layer and then I hide them. Okay. The other is inventory list, which is self-explanatory, and the fifth, is the toggle selection mode. And that mode is basically when you drag your canvas across, the entire canvas moves. When I click on toggle selection mode and I'm dragging, nothing moves, so it's frozen. So all I have is a selection window. And what that's good for is I can come around, select an entire group of objects that I can now delete or duplicate or do whatever. So as you can see, the selection mode is still gray, which means it's still active. So I have to click on it, and now I can move my canvas and I can select objects. And if I click on that again, I can come in, select large chunks of objects. Okay, so that's what that's for. Now what happens is, let me go back and grab a few more objects. So when I have an object selected, the menu changes, and the options are delete. Of course, that's self-explanatory. It's for me to delete an object. And that delete doesn't show up when there's nothing is selected. When I select something, delete shows up. Same thing as duplicate. So now that I have this selected, I click on duplicate and it makes a copy. Okay. The other tool besides duplicate is bring to front. So if I select this object, as you can see, its design, its shape is overlapping this other shape because it was put in last. So if I wanted this symbol to show up on top of that, I would click on send to back, which sends this object to the back, or I can select this object and click on bring to front. So that's how that works. Same thing here. I can click on this and say send to back. So it's a priority list in terms of display, and that's why we have these tools. And then the fifth tool is the same thing. There's a toggle mode to select multiple objects. So that's what's going on here with this little tool panel. Delete. Okay, Great. And also this is also very useful. If I'm zoomed in, I want to get to a certain area very quickly. Instead of trying to zoom out, I can come into this zoom panel, click on this sender and zoom fit. It will basically fit to my screen. Whatever my screen is, it will fit to screen. Or I can incrementally manually grab the scroll bar to center. And this one is to go full screen. So if I wanted to go full screen, I can click on that. So that's what this is all about. And of course, this is self-explanatory. This is the login button. If I click on that, once I'm logged in, I can log out. If I was not logged in, if I click on it, it will take me to a login page, and then it will then allow me to log in. And remember, you have to log in order to save, in order to open files that you've saved, because otherwise the software does not know who you are unless you've logged in. Okay.